Welcome to the Unadilla Valley Sports Center, New Berlin, New York, for round 8 of 12 of the AMA 125 National Motocross Series.
Hello everyone, I'm Jan Beekes, and joining us as always is our ESPN analyst David Bailey, former motocross champion. Now this kind of racetrack is a truly outdoor national racetrack. I know you love this place.
Well, I did, because it's not a supercross. There's nothing man-made about Unadilla, and most of the time when they start out on this racetrack, it's all grass, sometimes as high as the handlebars. So it's going to play in the favor of the riders that are in the best shape, and I always mention Ryan Hughes being in good shape, and he won both motos last year and took over the points lead.
Speaking of points lead, we have a new points leader coming into this round, Mike Brown, and also Steve Lamson is really closing in. It's tight at the top.
Well, that's right. Mike Brown, I don't think ever thought that he would find himself in the points lead, but Damon Huffman had a terrible week last week on a supercross track where we thought he would do well. That handed the points lead over to Mike Brown, and it's only 5 points separate the top 4 riders. Lamson coming way off the pace to catch these guys.
Now, Lamson last year had a big crash in Moto number 1. You think he might be conservative here off the start?
I would be. I think that the way he's been riding and with the ease that he's been winning, I think he can afford to calm down just a little bit. The championship's within his grasp. He doesn't need to do anything stupid now.
We'll keep our eye on Ryan Hughes, the defending champion, but first, let's take a look at the track.
One of the really neat things about Unadilla is that the track is really wide everywhere, so it's excellent for passing. They throw a lot of topsoil on the racetrack, but once they get down past that, there's a lot of rocks.
The third member of our broadcast team, Art Ekman, has more on those rocks.
Down here at the mechanics pit area, it looks like a tire store. It looks like they brought the whole store as well, and this is the reason. One of the unique characteristics of this grand old Unadilla track is rock upon rock upon rock. The teams are taking special precautions so they won't get flat tires. Some are doing double tubing. Others are turning to Dunlop's new tire.
We've developed a system that's called a crescent mousse. It actually takes a small inner tube with foam. The foam gives the protection to the inner tube and keeps you from getting a flat. The foam also provides a little bit more cushion out there on the rocks, which tends to give them better traction. Jeremy and some of the other riders have been developing this for us for actually 2 years now, and we're just ready to get it on the market.
So in essence now, you have the advantages of both a tube and a solid tube.
Yeah, the nice thing about this system is as the track conditions change, you can adjust your air pressure to get the rider more comfortable with that particular situation. Like as it dries out, we'll be going to more air pressure because the pace will quicken up, get a little faster, they start hitting things a little bit harder, and you need a little bit more protection there.
This is one track they'll likely need all the protection they can get, gentlemen.
Thanks, Art. Mike Brown sitting atop the points for the first time in 1995. He's hoping for a good run today, as is number 22, Robbie Rayner. Now, in the background, David, you can see Mike LaRocco. He's been training with them. How much does that help?
Well, it's got to be a huge confidence builder because LaRocco is not only the defending champion, but he knows how to go fast here at Unadilla. This kid, Rayner, really hasn't been able to get things going, but I think Mike can help him out.
They're all going to get it going here as we're getting very close to the start. Those rocks will be flying in a moment. Here in 125, moto number 1, they go down, then up into turn number 1. A couple of riders tangle. A big pileup midfield. We'll check the numbers. One of those who looked like he went over the handlebars was 94 Carlo Cohen, and here 86, that's Rusty Holland. Looks like he might be hurt.
Well, I think he might have got hit by another motorcycle. That was a pretty nasty pileup.
Up front, it looks like number 36, Chad Pedersen, has got the whole shot. He's coming off a 5th place overall finish at Troy. This guy's been on fire this season, David.
Well, he's starting to go faster and faster. Maybe he needs to get his bike stolen more often, and that's what happened to him after the Budds Creek round, and ever since then he's been doing pretty good.
He started with a basically production machine, had some help from Pro Circuit with an engine, and then he's just been cranking ever since. Looking back, what a great shot that was, looking through the field. Those guys getting some big-time air. But here comes Ryan Hughes. Now, let's take a look at the replay, what happened on the start.
Well, it looks like a couple of guys just got tangled. I can't tell what happened to start it off. It just didn't flow into the corner. Somebody went straight, and you can see it was just domino effect, everybody going down. Mostly privateers, it looks like. Most of the good guys are still running up front, and hopefully everyone's going to walk away from that.
One of those that did get tangled was number 22, Robbie Rayner, that we talked about on the start. He's got quite a job now. He was not down, however, he was caught in that melee. Ryan Hughes, however, trying to make an early run for the front. We mentioned he won here last year in convincing style, Moto 1 and Moto number 2. He wants to go to the front early.
Well, I think he has the confidence to get around Chad Pedersen, and right here working up the inside, looks like he's going to do it.
Ryan Hughes with a handful of throttle goes to the lead. Now, David, is that just a case of getting better traction?
Well, I don't think so. I think he just had a better line. He was on the inside. That's an off-camber straightaway, and it makes a right-hander up the hill, and Ryan just had a better line.
Chad Pedersen now hoping to hang on and watch some of the lines that Ryan Hughes is choosing here. We'll be back after this.
The AMA 125cc Motocross Series on ESPN2 is being brought to you by Honda, winner and holders of the last 8.
Oh, I see.
The last thing this planet needs is another goopy.
Back at Unadilla, when we went to break, we told you we thought that Robbie Reynard may have been tangled in that first turn crash. In fact, he was. David, what does it look like they're trying to fix there?
Well, it looks like they're trying to put some tape around the throttle cable. Now, when it comes out of the throttle housing, the cable's just exposed, and if there's a kink in it, that throttle will run like cruise control. In other words, there's a spring that lets that throttle snap back, but he would have to do it manually. If you let go of the throttle, it would just still keep running wide open, so that's pretty scary.
Is that a case of guys getting close and maybe tangling handlebars could cause that kind of damage?
Sure, you don't have to crash to have damage to your motorcycle. I mean, it happens all the time. You just get too close to one another, and there's cables and levers and stuff hanging out in the open, and it's possible they just got a kink in it.
One rider that does not have to worry about being close to others right now is our leader, number 9, Ryan Hughes. Chad Pedersen now giving chase, falling back kind of in the clutches of number 19, Mike Craig. You see the yellow flags? That's because they're coming by the starting area where we had that big crash on lap 1. Looks like most of the riders did get up and are off the track, David.
It looks like they got everyone out of the way. There's a couple of bikes at the side of the racetrack, but they come up a blind hill right there, and I think they're just trying to make everyone take a safe line.
We saw them working on the machine earlier of Robbie Reynard. Art Ekman has caught up with his father.
Robert, what did that first lap crash do to Robbie's bike?
It broke the throttle housing completely off the bike. We just taped it up so it could go on, but I'm really afraid it's going to stick.
Good luck.
Thank you.
David, how dangerous could that be for Robbie Reynard if that thing starts to stick?
Well, any hint of that starting to stick, I just pull off the racetrack. I mean, I can think of a lot of different throttle sticking scenarios, and none of them are good. He could end up hurt bad.
Up front, we're looking at a battle for second place between Chad Pedersen, who got the whole shot on his privateer Honda, followed by the Honda of Troy, number 19 of Michael Craig. Mike looks like he's running a consistent pace, but look, here's the points leader, another Honda of Troy rider, Mike Brown. Who looks the quickest of those to you, David?
Well, Mike Brown's on the charge. He's definitely caught up to Mike Craig, and then you've got Pichon behind him, and it looks like Damon Huffman. There's a bunch of riders starting to move up on this pack.
The scenario we have here, however, David, is number 19, Mike Craig. He rides for Honda of Troy. He's had a real tough season. Not all his fault. Sometimes he's had mechanical problems. But behind him, his teammate, Honda of Troy rider Mike Brown, now leads the points. Who would have thought that? You think possibly Mike Craig will just make it easier for Brown to go by?
No, I don't think so. It's too early in the season for him to do that. I mean, that's something that would probably happen later in the races. And since they are teammates, I would say yes. But right here, I think they're both looking pretty aggressive, and Mike's going to have to earn this.
Another rider looking pretty aggressive is 101 Mikel Pichon on the Kawasaki. Is he looking for different lines, David?
I think so. Pichon's one of the more creative riders on the circuit, always taking different lines, and it could be he's just trying to stay out of that roost. Remember, there's a lot of rocks out there.
Speaking of different lines, we have a battle for second place. Mike Craig goes to the outside and takes second place from Chad Pedersen. So you said they were both aggressive, both Honda of Troy riders, and I think Mike Brown now has some ideas on going after Pedersen as well.
Well, he better if he wants to hold on to that points lead, because Ryan Hughes is right in there in the points, has already opened up a big lead on all these riders, and now they got, looks like Pichon is starting to make up a lot more time. Huffman and Lamson starting to work his way into the picture.
Now that was an interesting hand signal and board signal, pointing to the knee, kicking that out. What's Wyatt Seals trying to say to our leader there?
I have no idea. That's a really tricky corner right there where you got to stay in that little rut. It's very off-camber, one of the most steep off-cambers on the circuit, and possibly just a little riding tip right there for his rider.
Chad Pedersen now under heavy pressure from both Mike Brown and Mikel Pichon. Now this has got to be great experience for Chad Pedersen. He's running with guys he hasn't run with before.
Well, remember last week he was hoping to finish in the top 3. He couldn't quite hang on to it, but each time that you run up there like with these guys, you tend to relax a little bit more. It doesn't bother you as much. You're less intimidated. And right now, he's doing a pretty good job.
Mikel Pichon is the guy who's trying to make a victim out of Chad Pedersen. They come through the portion of the track where the mechanics are giving those signals where David said it is tricky. He goes to the outside, gets some good drive. Mikel Pichon has moved his way by Chad Pedersen. But my question is, where'd Mike Brown go?
Well, he must have made a mistake somewhere. If you make any mistakes in this racetrack, he's right there behind Lamson. Possibly Lamson and Huffman are just running a faster pace than Brown and just went right past him. So I don't know if he made a mistake or not. Right now, he's going to have to stay in contact with these leaders, though, if he wants to hold on to the points lead.
Mike Brown, you see him now right behind Steve Lamson. Maybe a miscue on the racetrack, but finds himself back. And the real battle is for second place. Mikel Pichon is caught all the way up to Mike Craig. He goes to the inside and takes the position. Now, Kawasaki's 1 and 2.
Well, you got to wonder if maybe the Kawasaki's like this racetrack. There's a lot of green around here. Maybe that has something to do with it. But I think Pichon is a racetrack like Unadilla. You really have to take different lines, and Pichon is so good at that, and it's really starting to work for him.
We have Ryan Hughes with a commanding lead in second as we check our Suzuki field summary. Pichon, Craig, Pedersen, and Damon Huffman round out the top 5. We'll be back for more of Moto number 1 after this. Welcome back to the Ford Motor Company AMA 125 action here at Unadilla Valley Sports Complex. You're looking at Chad Pedersen now with a very strong challenge from Damon Huffman on his Suzuki. He goes to the outside, then cuts back to the inside. He's looking for racing room. Chad Pedersen is making it tough. Damon Huffman trying desperately to get some more points. He was our points leader, David. Now he's really finding himself slipping back through the order.
Well, I think, yeah, it's frustrating for him, and he knows he's got Lamson breathing down his neck, and if he can put Pedersen between them, that might give him a little breathing room for a while. He can go up and hopefully challenge the leaders without having to ride defensively with Lamson on his tail.
What do you think this might mean for Chad Pedersen for next year? He's been racing with factory guys the last 2 rounds. He's been looking very, very strong, although, yes, he fights off the challenges each and every time. You think possibly we might see him with a factory ride next year?
Well, it's possible, but I wouldn't really bank on it unless Pedersen started holding these guys off. Right now, he's a challenge for a while, but eventually they move around. And if he was a lot more of a challenge and it was coming down the last couple of laps and he was beating a few of them now and then, I think, yeah, the factory would look at that a lot more seriously.
You called it, David. It's one thing to race with him. It's another thing to hold him back for the entire moto. Damon Huffman has worked his way fast, and I bet that Steve Lamson, number 5 on his Honda, shortly will also find a way. Actually, Pedersen looked over his shoulder there. Maybe he'll give room to Lamson.
Well, I don't think he's going to make room for anybody, but it's inevitable right there. Lamson just made his own room, moves right by. So Pedersen, you know, he's riding well, but he just doesn't have the pace to match these leaders.
We also should say that he doesn't really have the machine that the others do. He's not on a factory machine. We have to give him all the credit that's due for a guy out there riding as a privateer. But now let's change the focus to the points, to the championship. This is important for Lamson. We said maybe he'll run conservative. Now that he's got through the first few laps, he hasn't crashed like he did last year. Do you think maybe he'll turn up the heat?
Well, I think the heat's on. He's already worked his way up to the front, passing all these guys. And, you know, with Ryan out there, sure, I think that's got to bother him a little bit because he can't let Ryan get too far away, knowing how well Ryan rides here. But with his crash last year, I mean, I would be somewhat conservative, not try to make everything happen in one moto. I mean, he's still got another moto to go, and he might be able to pick up another spot or two here.
Now, how about the fact that he's won 4 overall victories in a row? I mean, how hard and how important is it to keep that streak going?
Well, definitely for the momentum and just for the intimidation factor on everybody else. When you keep winning those races and you get a 10th place start, you got a guy out there leading it, and he's wondering where you are. You know, that's a nice thing to have, but it has to end sometime. And on a track this rough, maybe it's smarter to just play it a little bit more conservative and not throw it away. He did last year, and I'm sure he doesn't want to do that again.
Chad Pedersen not able to hold the Suzuki, the factory Suzuki of Damon Huffman or Steve Lamson at bay. However, he's doing a pretty good job at keeping Mike Brown, our current points leader, back. Now that's got to be exciting for both Huffman and for Lamson because they're trying to close in.
Well, I think the guy that's most excited about the points is Ryan Hughes, who's running a good pace right now. It doesn't look like these guys are gaining anything, and with the success that he had here last year, I'm sure he feels like he can go out and do it in the second moto as well. So the points lead could go to him at the end of the day.
This is a racetrack certainly for those that are physically fit. Chad Pedersen is one of those guys you'd have to say is in the class of being physically fit. Now we're seeing Steve Lamson putting on a challenge, and a strong one. He does. He goes through the grass and picks up the position past Damon Huffman. That was a nice move.
Well, that was excellent. As he came down the hill, you could almost see it happening. He went to the outside, made a strong run around the berm, and just got a bigger drive. Something wrong with Mike Craig as he came up the hill looking back at his rear tire, but it looked like Lamson just played it smart. He just knew he'd get a stronger drive out of the corner and carry more speed up that hill, and on a 125, that's crucial.
Mike Craig is in trouble, and it looks like Steve Lamson is going to. He's done it. He's picked up another position, this time from attrition. Mike Craig appears to have a flat rear tire. How? We saw in the beginning of the show, sometimes you can run different tubes and different shields. Can he keep running with a flat rear?
Well, he can, but you can see the pace right there. Just in a matter of like 100 yards, he's already lost 2 positions, and I'm sure he'd lose a lot more. So it's hard to say what he'll do. I think it's too early in the race for him to try to ride all the way to the finish. He could probably, you can see he's making a signal to one of the Honda of Troy guys who was standing in that corner, so maybe he's going to want to come in and get it changed.
We saw him pointing to the rear tire, letting them know that he does have a problem. Of course, a rear is a lot harder to change than the front, isn't it?
Well, it's a lot harder, but if you're going to have a flat tire, you'd much rather have a rear flat, because a front flat, it's just impossible to try to make the bike go where you want. At least with the rear, you can just sort of slide a little bit more.
Michael Craig finds himself slipping back through our Suzuki field summary. He now runs in 5th. Hughes, Pichon, Lamson, and Huffman round out our top 5. We'll be back with more of Moto number 1 after this.
The Red Wings host the Stars at Joe Louis in a Central Division clash Wednesday at 7:30. The NHL rules on ESPN2.
Welcome back to Unadilla. Jan Beekes and David Bailey in the booth. Art Ekman in the pits. Number 19, Mike Craig. As we went to the break, we said he was sliding back through the field. We have confirmed he has a flat rear tire, and now he'll be lucky if he makes it back to the pits, David.
Well, I don't know why he keeps stopping. I mean, get to the pits and get it changed. You can bet that they've run back to the pit area, and they saw when he went by, he pointed to it. They recognized it was a flat. Somebody's waiting with a rear wheel, and he's just wasting time right here. The sooner he gets back there and they get it changed, the sooner he can get back in the moto and hopefully get points.
His teammate, number 26, Mike Brown, needs to pick up some positions to hang on to the points lead, because now number 38, Scott Sheik, has closed in on Brown. He doesn't look comfortable at all, David.
No, and as he came down that downhill right there, he hit a couple of bumps that I'm sure he didn't want to hit. The bike swapped around, and it's hard to get stopped for that corner. And just not in his rhythm. You know, I mean, possibly it's the pressure of riding with the points lead. He's never had one before, and now he knows how it feels.
Is it a case of bike setup or just nerves, you think?
Perhaps a little bit of both, but I would be willing to bet it's mostly nerves.
You see the halfway sign. When you have cross flags, that means we're halfway through Moto number 1. And Scott Sheik, a privateer. Boy, we've seen some good performances from privateers today.
Yeah, and here comes Mike Craig into, this doesn't look like the mechanics area, but there they got the stand. They're going to put the bike on the stand and change the rear wheel.
The Honda of Troy team goes to work. Sean Persinger is the mechanic on the number 19 machine. Art Ekman is down there keeping track of this tire change.
Marshall Plum and Sean Persinger doing the work on Michael Craig's bike. Of course, Unadilla known for so many rocks, and flat tires do occur here all the time. Eric, this is almost an expected occasion here at Unadilla.
Yeah, we thought we were prepared for it. There's a lot of rocks here, and we've had a lot of flats in the past. We thought we were prepared, but I guess you can never be prepared for this. It's a tough condition.
Did you double tube it? Was that it, or?
Yeah, we had precautions in there, in the tire, you know, protecting it from the rocks, but it just wasn't enough.
Eric Kehoe, the team manager, Honda of Troy. Mike Craig looking in there. And Marshall and Sean doing a job the NASCAR friends would be proud of.
Well, I don't know about NASCAR, Art. I think if this was NASCAR, he'd be in, he'd have a full tank of fuel. They would have changed both tires already, and he'd already be back out about 30 seconds prior. However, it's a much more difficult job to change this than it is a NASCAR four-tire change, David.
Oh, definitely. And you see right there, they put a glove underneath the chain. That's to make sure that when they roll the wheel backwards, they put that pressure in there, and that pulls the wheel all the way forward against the chain adjuster, so they make sure the wheel's in there nice and straight.
A nice bit of ingenuity there for Honda of Troy. Sean Persinger even starts it for Mike Craig just to save a little bit of extra effort for him. Mike Craig, after a long stop, finally rejoins Moto number 1.
Before we started focusing on Mike Craig's problems, we talked about Mike Brown not really riding up to his potential, and now Scotty Sheik putting the pressure on.
Scott Sheik goes to the outside. Wow, flies over that jump. He's on a charge. He's getting serious about making a move. Now gets right in the tire tracks, looking for a way to take an inside line, gets on the throttle, and takes the position from our current points leader. Wow, this has been a day for privateers. Scott Sheik, 21 years old, from Corona, California, on the Suzuki. Nice ride, David.
Well, he looks great right now. I've never seen this kid up front like this, and now he's schooling Mike Brown. Mike Brown's probably going, man, why'd you have to pick today to ride this good? Because I'm losing points.
Checking the interval, Ryan Hughes rides through. Huge lead for him on his fellow Kawasaki rider, 7.3 seconds on Mikel Pichon.
And I like the way Pichon came around that corner. He carries more speed around that tree, runs the outside berm, misses all the bumps, and I like, oh, the front end washes out a little bit right there. But you don't see many mistakes from Pichon, but I like the lines he takes.
Yeah, we saw one there. That was a little bit of a scary move when he loses the front end. A guy who's been making, unfortunately, a few mistakes off the starting gate has been number 12, Damon Huffman. Now, David, here's a guy who got the whole shot in nearly every 125 Supercross. But now here on the outdoors, he's not getting good starts. How can that be?
I have no idea. I mean, he seemed to have his starts wired, and he even said that he worked really hard during the offseason to improve his starts, but he just can't get them. And right there, lost his foot off the foot peg riding through that rut. The ruts get deep, and you drag your feet. Lucky not to twist an ankle there.
Huffman at the moment sits in 4th place as we look at the Suzuki field summary. Hughes has checked out to a huge lead. Pichon now chasing for the front. We'll be back with more of Moto number 1 after this.
It's part of me. I think in life it's really important to be a player and not a spectator. Sometimes it's difficult, but it's worth it.
ESPN2, people who do.
The AMA 125cc Motocross Series on ESPN2 is being brought to you by Suzuki. Right now, your Suzuki dealer has the ride you've been waiting for and the financing to get it.
Last week in Troy, Ohio, we saw a wicked crash by this man, number 23, Tim Ferry. He was hit by Denny Stevenson. You can tell by the way he's riding, he's very sore, not the speed, David.
Well, it was a dislocated thumb, I believe, and I don't know how this guy can hook his helmet strap, let alone ride the motorcycle. Just the vibration of the handlebars would have to be very painful for that thumb, and you can see that he's just riding as gingerly as possible, just trying to pick as smooth as lines as he can and just gain some points.
Going back up towards the front, we have seen this battle kind of be renewed between Scott Sheik and Mike Brown. Scott Sheik has done a nice job at holding off the points leader, and like you said, this guy really looks as though he has the rhythm here at Unadilla.
Well, as they went past the start-finish there's 2 laps to go, and Sheik, who his best finish this year has been a 6th place, normally runs around 10th, 14th. I mean, he doesn't run that well, and a guy in the points lead would typically be lapping Scott Sheik, but right now Sheik has got this Unadilla track dialed in, and Brown has got to make a move in these closing laps to try to hang on to his points lead.
It was Budds Creek where he got a 6th place in Moto number 2. He did finish, however, 4th in a Supercross, the final event in Las Vegas on the 125 circuit. But doing a great job at the moment on his privateer Suzuki, we mentioned before, from Corona, California, only 21 years old. We've seen a couple privateers that might be knocking on some factory doors after this race, David.
Well, yeah, and as they went to the mechanics area, you can see the entire Honda of Troy camp just trying to get Mike Brown to gas it and pass this kid, and it's somebody he would normally beat without a problem. And I think he knows he's got to get around him, but just not riding that good today.
They work their way through some lapped riders. That's 410 Travis Hodges. He moves out of the way, gives Mike Brown a chance now to make a move on Scott Sheik. He got good drive off there. He's going to the inside. He's holding, he's twisting that throttle, trying to make a move. We'll take a closer look and see. No, Mike Brown just does not seem to be able to close on Sheik.
I like the line that Sheik's using. He carries more speed around that sweeper, and you see he gets all that air time up towards the top. He's jumping 2 or 3 holes right there. And that's a very off-camber, that whole straightaway and corner. And the way Sheik does it, he jumps, pivots the bike in the air, and then he sets himself up better for the next corner. So there's no way in the world that Brown's going to be able to pass him right there.
Now, what about some other portions of the track? You think Mike Brown has found some better lines?
No, and I don't like the line he just took right there either. He has to slow down more for the inside berm right there, and then he's got to try to get some drive up the hill. And he needs to just try to learn a little bit. He's still got a couple laps here. He can learn a little bit from Sheik and possibly on the last lap, turn him back around and make a move on it.
A guy we haven't seen too much, unfortunately, because he's had such a big lead on his final lap, is Ryan Hughes. He's actually working his way and lapping Tim Ferry as we see Lee McCollum give him a signal. But do you think that maybe the big news that Ryan Hughes signed a contract just last week to go to Kawasaki, the factory ride next year on the 250, is giving him extra confidence, David?
Well, it's got to make him feel great and help him relax a little bit. Now, Ryan tends to ride sometimes a little bit over his head, make mistakes, and right here he can relax. He knows he's set up for next year. He's got this final year on the 125s, and I guarantee he wants to win this title and leave this class with some success.
Now, he's never liked the 125. When he gets on the 250 on Supercross, he just loves it. And this is his first factory contract he's ever had. I mean, Pro Circuit is not a full factory team, but that's got to give him even more incentive.
Right, and right there, he's already signaling to the fans in the back section here. He's got to be excited with winning this moto. He knows that's going to push him up there in the points, and everything seems to be going his way today.
Ryan Hughes in the closing stages of this final lap, trying to put another moto win in the books for 1995. He won the second moto in Sacramento, went on to win the overall. Today, the checkered flag flies. Ryan Hughes, the winner of Moto number 1. That's 2 years in a row here at Unadilla. Checking the Moto 1 results, Ryan Hughes on top, Pichon, Lamson, Huffman, and Sheik held on for 5th place. Rounding out the top 10, Brown, Pedersen, Yezek, McCormick, and Stevenson. Art Ekman has caught up with Ryan Hughes.
Well, the points leader changes every moto now in 125 action. Our new points leader temporarily anyway today, Ryan Hughes. You came into this race 3 points behind the leader, and man, you just took over.
Yeah, it seems like I do really good on this track. Since Mount Morris, each weekend I've gotten better each moto. So, you know, that's what it takes, and hopefully I can just keep this streak going on until the last race and come away with the championship.
Of course, it helps to have that new contract smile on your face, too.
Yeah, I don't have any pressure on me, and I think I just made everybody happy, so that they made a good decision. And, you know, I'm hoping I can just keep on doing this because it's making me really happy.
Great run, Ryan.
Thanks.
Ryan Hughes comes away with the points lead. We'll be back with moto number 2 after this.
Soon, you'll both be taking up less space. Space Saver by Proform.
It has a 937cc liquid-cooled 16-valve engine with straight intake tracks, adjustable suspension, and an ultra-rigid twin-tube diamond-type frame. Best of all, it's comfortable on any road. The Suzuki RF900R.
For this week's Suzuki Flashback, we make our way back to 1983, Unadilla, number 27, our own little professor, David Bailey. Tell us about the start, David.
Well, the start went good. I got the whole shot. I ended up getting the whole shot in both motos. And here's the early stages of Moto number 1. Behind me was number 42, also on a factory Honda that year, Brian Myerscough, who'd been riding excellent. Right there is Daniel Laporte, number 1, the reigning 250 world champion, battled with Suzuki's George Jobet for the 250 world title, which George Jobet went on to win. And I went on to win this first moto, but I was challenged slightly by Brian Myerscough, right there, number 42, who was riding fantastic in this humidity at New York.
David, you made it look easy in Moto number 1, but as you lined up for Moto number 2, looks like you got the kind of start you wanted.
Well, it looks like a replay of the first moto. I got the whole shot again, but the second moto was a little different. Remember, these are 45-minute motos, and it took its toll on me. I started getting tired, and Danny Laporte and eventually Brian Myerscough moved by me. But because of the long moto, Brian Myerscough started to fade. I moved back around him. And it was a battle between me and Danny Laporte that I wasn't able to capitalize on. Laporte smoked me in the second moto, but since he had a 5th in the first moto, I went ahead and took the overall win.
David Bailey, our own ESPN analyst, comes home with the overall victory. And watch this one. What's this, David?
Well, I just went in for a peck, and she latched onto me, so I had to go with it.
Yeah, right. If you'll believe that, I don't know. Well, Ryan Hughes is hoping that he has an opportunity to visit Victory Lane and get an overall today. After winning Moto number 1, he kind of shakes it loose. And Damon Huffman is a guy who really needs to get a good start, needs to start to get his momentum back again, David.
Well, you can tell by the look on his face. He knows he needs to get a good start. He looks pretty focused and actually a little frustrated. I think he knows he can do a lot better than he's been doing in the past.
But check this out, David. We saw there that Robbie Raynard, who had that throttle problem in Moto 1, the thing was still taped. You don't think they replaced it?
Oh, I'm sure they replaced it. Maybe they just put more duct tape on there to hopefully protect it in case that was to happen again. That's all I can figure.
We're going to wait for the all-important start here in Moto number 2. Looks like Ryan Hughes got a good roll across the gate. We look towards turn number 1. It was a Honda that got through. It was probably Steve Lamson. We'll wait to check the number. Yes, Steve Lamson gets through. And then 18, Denny Stevenson. But in 3rd place for the first time here in the outdoors was Damon Huffman.
Well, he definitely got the kind of start he needed, but right there you can see Denny Stevenson running 2nd. I think that Stevenson isn't capable of running the pace of Lamson, and if Huffman can't get around him quick, Lamson will be gone.
Denny Stevenson, the former factory rider for Suzuki, but check that out in 3rd place. Looks like Ryan Hughes is trying to make a move on Damon Huffman. As they come up out of the gravity cavity, we look, and it looks like Hughes has taken the spot.
Well, Hughes just, I don't think he did anything special there. He just jumped a little bit farther and had a little bit better line going into the corner. So Hughes, he's got the track figured out here in Unadilla, and now he's got the guy that's won 4 races in a row out there taking the lead, and we'll find out how fast Ryan Hughes is on this racetrack. If he can make a pass on Lamson, that's really going to shape things up for the rest of this 125 series.
Denny Stevenson there on the number 18 Privateer Suzuki, and then 2 bikes back is the number 12 factory Suzuki of Damon Huffman. But check this out, Ryan Hughes knows he has to go quick. If he wants to have a chance to go after Lamson, he has to do it right away, and that's exactly what he's doing. He's getting aggressive, he's turning the throttle, he's gone to the outside. Ryan Hughes now right up to 2nd place.
Carrying a lot of speed around that sweeper right there and starting to move in already on Steve Lamson. So this is a great battle. This is the one that 2 fastest riders on the racetrack, and now here they are. Great starts. It should be an excellent battle.
Mike Brown, just about went down, got into trouble. We checked the Honda field summary to see that Lamson, Hughes, Stevenson, Huffman, and 51, nice run for him. McCormick sits in 5th. We'll be back with much more of Moto 2 after this.
So you've been thinking about getting Quicken, the world's #1 selling personal finance software. But don't you wish you could, well, see what's in the box? It's a world of features that make Quicken the fastest, easiest way to organize your finances. Look, there's almost no setup. Just start by paying your bills like this. Next time you have the same bill, just type the first few keys, and Quicken remembers everything for you. Your bank and credit card balances are always up to date online with no typing. And best of all, with Quicken, you always know exactly where your money goes, so you gain more control of your finances. Quicken also tracks credit cards, loans, investments, budgets, and more, and balances your checkbook in minutes. It even keeps track of your tax deductions. Does that answer your question? So why not try Quicken?
It's easy. Call 1-800-624-1804 for your 30-day free trial. Pay just $9.95 shipping. If you decide to keep it, we'll bill you the balance in 30 days.
College basketball. There used to be some on. That was okay. Then there was more. For a while, that seemed like plenty. But wouldn't it be cool if you could see more of the games you wanted? Your school's games. Great games in different time zones. Games with great new players. And hundreds of games you can't see anywhere else. Well, the ball's in your court. You just gotta contact your local cable operator or DirecTV, and they'll hook you up to ESPN Full Court. It's your season subscription to the NCAA.
After watching his performance in 1983 here at Unadilla, who better to give us this week's Honda riding tip than our own David Bailey? This week, it's all about lines and passing.
The most important thing to remember about riding in traffic, as you see McGrath right there, and making passes is don't follow. Right here, we're going to watch LaRocco come out of this corner, cut it to the inside, takes an inside line, moves past John Dowd, and takes his line away. If he was come out of that corner and stayed right behind John Dowd, he would have made the same mistakes Dowd did and wouldn't have been able to make that pass. And here's a look at Greg Albertine. He tries the inside, there's no room, so he just sweeps it around a little bit wider, carries more speed, takes the line away from John Dowd and makes the pass on the inside. Not all passes are made under power. Greg doing a nice job of using the brakes hard to make that inside berm not overshoot it. Right here, Ryan Hughes doing a nice job of setting himself early so he has the inside line to make the pass. Now watch this sequence right here. Jeremy has made the pass on Jeff Emick, but Jeff's going to try and square back underneath him. Does a nice job, almost gets Jeremy back, forces him into a little mistake right there. Remember, be creative and don't follow. For this week's Honda riding tip, I'm David Bailey.
Back live at Unadilla, we're watching Steve Lamson in a battle for the lead, and looks like Ryan Hughes for a second had the lead on the outside. But talk about choosing lines, David. Looks like Lamson got the better of Hughes there.
Well, Hughes is just trying to keep the pressure on. I think Hughes is faster than Lamson right now, and I don't think he feels threatened by going in and trying to make a run at Lamson and losing a little bit of time, because he makes it right back up. So now he's got Lamson riding his race, and that's good for him.
Let's talk about momentum. We know that coming into Unadilla, Steve Lamson won 4 overall victories in a row. Now, all of a sudden, you've got Ryan Hughes, whips through, takes the Moto 1 victory, and even if he just stayed where he was, he'll win the overall here. How aggressive do you think that Hughes will be to try and get more momentum and get past him, even though he doesn't have to for the overall?
Well, he looks pretty aggressive right now to me, but I think the real story here is points. And if he can't get around Lamson right here, he's going to leave here with only a 4-point lead if they were to stay the way they were right now. But if he can make that pass, that lead will grow to 7, and I think that's pretty important and worth trying hard for.
You think a guy like Ryan Hughes is going to be unaffected by knowing he's starting Moto number 2 in the points lead? We saw Mike Brown earlier. He came into this race with the points lead and just couldn't get anything going.
Well, last year, Ryan Hughes won both motos here and took over the points lead. So he's been there before, and right now, I mean, he's just gobbling up all this ruse from Lamson. He's charging hard. You can see right there through that corner, he's just, look at how hard he's trying. I mean, I don't think he's holding back at all.
He goes to the inside, and it looked like he had a wheel in there, but Lamson returns the favor. Like you said, David, shows him a little bit of roost, but it's not over. Here comes Ryan Hughes. Man, he is going after it. Even though he doesn't have clear vision, he's doing exactly what you said in the Honda riding tip, and that is don't follow, David.
Oh, he's got different lines everywhere, and part of it is to stay out of the roost, but he's got to stay pretty close to the lines that Lamson's using. He's just crossing back and forth over that path just to try to dodge some of the roost. And remember, I mean, there's probably a 12-inch wide line around this racetrack that's the absolute fastest line, and Lamson's taking it, so Ryan's got to get real creative. And a rider that was nervous could never go as fast as Ryan's going right now, so he's not affected by the nerves at all.
Well, that's what we think here in the booth, but the best person to ask that question would, of course, be his mechanic, Wyatt Seals.
Wyatt, location, location, location. Looks like Ryan is looking for the spot to pass.
Yeah, it really does. When they drop off in the back, Ryan seems to make up a little bit of ground. When they start coming up the hill here, Lammy seems to pull it out a little bit. So, you know, we've got plenty of time right now. just need to stay on him and you know, and just keep pushing him and just wait for the right opportunity.
Well, with Ryan knowing that this is a lucky track, it could be the opposite feeling for Lamson, who really had a bad injury here last year.
Yeah, it really could. I mean, Ryan is really confident here. I mean, 3 motos in a row so far. But, hey, if we got to get second to get the overall, it's worth it.
David, now that's the big difference between talking to a mechanic. Now, Wyatt sounded pretty logical there. I can bet that Ryan Hughes is not concerned about that. He wants to go after Lamson.
Yeah, a little less logical, a lot more aggressive. And I think if you could put your mechanic's hand on the throttle, you'd finish every moto, but you wouldn't win very many. And right here, I think, whoa, right there, you see how aggressive Ryan's getting now. If I were Ryan right here, I'd be taking it easy. I mean, he's got the overall win. It's a long ways back to 3rd place. So just take your time, make Lamson nervous.
Don't you think he's having fun here? Don't you think he has the kind of confidence that he really wants to go after it just for the joy of racing?
Yeah, but there's nothing fun about getting pelted in the chest and the face and the arms with rocks. So I'm sure he'd like to make a pass.
Well, here's Denny Stevenson, who's hung on well. However, 101, Mikel Pichon works his way through 4th position. You notice there is getting a little bit of sun. You've seen for the first time today, it's been very cloudy, some sun peeking through, but there is a huge black cloud that is moving this way. These riders are going to be possibly having to work through some wet conditions if this thing keeps blowing this direction, David.
Well, in that case, vision is then going to play a big part. And right here, I think Lamson's got pretty good vision. You can see how dirty Ryan is. He's probably used quite a bit of his tearaways or roll-offs. As you can see, those little things sticking out on the side of his goggles, that's a film that moves across. And once you start to use all that, it's gone.
It looks like Ryan Hughes has done it. Ryan Hughes goes to the outside. He does it. Ryan Hughes with the lead. Well, he must be able to hear us here in the booth. Maybe he saw that big black cloud and said, I want to make sure that I have some vision. I'm going to go by Lamson. Man, Ryan Hughes just about gets into trouble. But David, tell us about the pass.
Well, as they started this left-hander, it's kind of an off-camber uphill, and Lamson's just trying to take the inside shortest line, but Ryan riding really aggressive, holds it wide open, goes all the way around the outside. Now, you got to be aggressive and really fast to pass riders on the outside. The good line is going to come at the end of this section, where even if they'd have been side by side, which they're kind of close to, Ryan would have controlled the inside right here in this right-hand off-camber drop-off, which he does, and takes over the lead.
Ryan Hughes with a picture-perfect pass. We look back through the field somewhat. We're looking at Mikel Pichon putting some pressure on Mike Brown, who had not a good first moto at all, but looks a little stronger here. However, looking in the background, I think I may be seeing a few raindrops starting to fall. Ryan Hughes may have made his move just in time.
Well, I think so. Once this track gets muddy, it's going to be important for these guys. You remember all the rocks they talked about? Well, when that gets wet, I've ridden here in the rain, and it's almost like riding on ice. So you want to go out and try to find all that loam that's been pushed off to the sides.
Oh, Ryan Hughes, our leader, has gone down. Ryan Hughes trying to get back on the motorcycle. We know for sure that Steve Lamson has gone through. We don't know how many more positions he's going to lose, but now we see Robbie Raynard starting to put a move on Scott Sheik. He takes that position. Man, all of a sudden, everything's breaking loose here in Moto 2.
Well, I don't know. Ryan didn't run back to his motorcycle. He looked like maybe he was shaken up a little bit on that crash, and we'll have to wait and see how well he rides since he got back on the bike, because perhaps he could have bent the handlebars or clutch. You saw how easy it was for something to happen to Robbie Raynard's throttle cable, so we'll have to keep our eyes on Ryan.
Scott Sheik with another good ride here. Now you can start to see the rain. We thought that Robbie, wow, look at the way the heavens have opened up here. Boy, I'm glad we're in the booth, David.
Oh, I'm so glad I'm not out there right now. It's coming down hard, and the track is going to change drastically in a matter of probably a half a lap.
Looking at the Honda Field Summary, you can bet this will change as these conditions change. We'll be back to see what happens in these horrible conditions.
NASCAR Winston Cup Circuit, a real round trip. ESPN2 presents a special year-end television event. 8 Winston Cup races, 30 hours of speed, power, and excitement. A NASCAR marathon of the most thrilling races of 1995. Race into the new year with 30 hours of NASCAR, beginning tonight at 8:30 p.m. only on ESPN2.
Welcome back to Unadilla. Jan Beekes and David Bailey in the comfort of the booth, while our Ekman is out there with the rest of these riders in these unbelievable conditions. The heavens have opened up. Look at the wind, look at the rain. Unbelievable, David.
It looks like hurricane conditions right here. I mean, it's not only the rain that's making the track slick, but you can see the banners. Look how hard the wind is blowing. They have to actually lean into the wind, and they're going down the straightaway. Just adds to their problems. You see right there, Mike Brown is going outside. He's trying to find someplace other than the main line to ride where there's more cushion and he doesn't slide out.
Mike Brown is a rider who we've been a little bit hard on today. We should also say that he doesn't really like this racetrack too much. He came in with the points lead. He's been struggling, but now he's probably thinking, well, if I can just keep this thing upright, I can regain my composure in the next round.
Sure. Well, you know, even in a moto like this, a lot of guys can, I mean, the DNF is a possibility. Water getting sucked into the air cleaner, into the carburetor, throttle sticking because there's dirt and things getting around into the engine and the throttle cable. It's not impossible that he can end up winning this moto. Mike Brown's from Tennessee. I'm sure he's seen these conditions before, and he rides well in the mud. Everybody could go down, have problems, and he could be right back where he was coming in here today.
With these heavens opening up, like I said, David, it could play right into the hands of this man, Mike Brown. But talking about muddy conditions, it makes you think of Doug Henry. He did come back after that horrible accident. He's here at Unadilla, and we can tell you he's walking, he's smiling, and hopes he might get back on the motorcycle.
And Doug's teammate, Steve Lamson, right here, who's leading this moto now after Ryan Hughes fell down, seems to have a pretty comfortable lead. And you see he's still pretty clean. Probably the rain would wash him off. It's coming down so hard, but things are looking like they're going his way right now.
Hughes has recovered to second place. It's not over yet. Huffman, Pichon, Brown, Raynard, and Sheik are taking chase. We'll be back right after this.
Throw the Suzuki Katana 600 at a few of your favorite curves. You'll like how it feels, how it looks, and how much fun it is to ride. Pretty soon, you'll realize that life will never be the same. The Suzuki Katana.
Spartan School of Aeronautics can train you to be a pilot or quality... A pilot? Yes. Spartan has been training aviation professionals in Tulsa, Oklahoma since 1928. Spartan offers training in aviation maintenance, avionics... No, what now?
Shouldn't you join the military for something like that?
Not unless you want to make a 4-year commitment.
I guess you could say careers are really taking off at Spartan.
Call Spartan School of Aeronautics at 1-800-544-1000 for a brochure. That's 1-800-544-1000.
The AMA 125cc Motocross Series on ESPN2 has been brought to you by Honda, winner and holders of the last 8 consecutive Supercross championships. Honda, come ride with us.
Just as quick as it started, it has ended here in Unadilla. The sun is returning. However, the damage is done, David.
Well, you can see all the water puddles and all the holes out there, and it's look at the mess that it is. It's impossible to try to find a good line out there because all the ones that were good are now deeper ruts. More rocks have been exposed because of the rain. Everything's slick, and I bet these guys just want this moto to be over with.
Makes it a bit tough for us as well to kind of pick out the riders. Thankfully, some of those chest protectors still have some clean numbers on them. I believe that we're looking at Mikel Pichon working his way around the outside, actually lapping, I believe, his teammate, David Pingree.
Well, Pichon is coming from Europe, has been exposed to these kinds of conditions, I'm sure, many times, and he's a good rider in the mud, reaching up to get some clear vision. And I want to point out that as we watch Steve Lamson right here in the final lap, that Ryan Hughes has remounted, is still riding in second place, but well off the pace. And it's got to be good for Lamson to have come back and won the second moto for his confidence after sort of a disappointing first moto. But if Ryan can keep it on 2 wheels, he's going to break the streak Lamson had going.
Ryan Hughes currently running in second. One thing we have been able to ascertain is that his handlebars are bent. They're nearly all the way back on the gas tank, but he's hanging in there. He's just working as hard as he can through these muddy conditions, knowing if he stays in second place, just like you said, David, that Steve Lamson, although he's run perfectly here and takes the checkered flag. First place for him, but it'll be second overall as he looks back to find out exactly where Hughes will end up. Moto 2 results show that Ryan Hughes did end up in second place. Nice run for Damon Huffman after a better start. Robbie Raynard recovers for sixth. Scott Sheik, great run for a privateer. Art Ekman has caught up with our winner, Steve Lamson.
Well, Steve, a little lady luck never hurt. You were in the right spot at the right time to take advantage of it.
Yeah, I led a few laps there. Ryan was riding pretty good behind me, so I kind of let him go and do his own thing and kind of figure out his lines and hopefully close on him at the end. And before I was thinking that, he was on the ground. So then the rain started coming down, so he just had to ride cautious and didn't do nothing dumb.
With the rain and the mud, you did get a little bit more cautious, I assume.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It started getting really slick in some spots, and the lappers were pretty bad because you'd mud out your goggles so bad, and hoping it would hold off, so it did, so I kept my goggles on the whole way. So,
well, out in first place, you could afford to smile and have some fun with the mud.
Yeah, you can. So I just was hoping to close out some points on Ryan, but at least not give him 3 this moto is good, so I'm going to keep pounding and try to win that thing.
He still has a good shot at it. Second today overall, Ryan Hughes sits atop the overall results. Nice run for Huffman in fourth. Let's check in again with Art Ekman.
Congratulations on the overall victory. First of all, let's go back to the negative sense. What happened when you went down?
Well, I just was going up top and my front end washed, and it kind of just, it stuck me in the stomach and kind of pushed me over the bars. And I flew pretty far. I was waiting to hit the ground, and my bars went down quite a bit, so I got up and tried catching them, and I started catching them a bit, but I don't think anybody knew how to use a cross flag out there, so it kind of screwed me up.
And, of course, the rain. That was not fun, especially when you're trying to catch up.
Yeah, I mean, I felt pretty good, actually, in the rain. You know, I wish my bars were the way I liked them, but, you know, that's how it goes. I'm happy with the overall. I'm happy with the points lead, and I'm just going to keep working hard and try to win this championship.
A moto win and a points lead all in one afternoon. You got to go home with a smile.
Yeah, and Unadilla is my track, I think.
How you do at Minnesota?
Well, we'll soon find out. Hopefully it'll be my track again.
Looking at those overall point standings, just as Art Ekman told us, Ryan Hughes leads with the points lead, but look how close it is, David.
Well, now it's only 13 points separating the top 4 guys, and you can see in one race, Mike Brown came in here with the points lead. Now he's 13 points back. Right there, number 9, Ryan Hughes, responding to that charge that Lamson had put on these guys, catching all the way up from 61 points down. Now it pretty much looks like it's between Lamson and Ryan Hughes.
Will it be Lamson? Will it be Ryan Hughes? We'll find out next time from Millville, Minnesota. For David Bailey and Art Ekman, I'm Jan Beekes. We'll see you there.